Bell Witch Cave. Growing up down in Montgomery County, I always heard stories about the Bell Witch Cave over in Adams, and it really freaked us out as teenagers. We didn't really know about the whole thing or anything like that, but it was just a thing I thought grown-ups told kids to scare them, and it was definitely like our most popular urban legend. So the summer between my junior and senior year of college, me and some friends decided we were going to go and see the cave. They had nighttime tours back then, and it was pretty obvious that some of the guys thought they were really tough, and they wanted to show off for us, including my boyfriend at the time. You see, there was this legend that if people took rocks out of the cave, then when they left, bad shit would start happening to them. Growing up, people said this all the time, and even in the little gift shop office thing that they have, there's all these letters on the wall and all from people who took rocks and then sent them back because they got hit with all kinds of awful stuff. Car crashes and house fires and all that stuff. Scary, right? Well, the guys thought this was awesome. We were kids after all, but once we got down there, most of them chickened out, thank God. Unfortunately, my boyfriend did not. He was kind of an idiot, and I probably should have seen it sooner, but whatever. Anyway, he picks up a rock and thinks it's the funniest thing in the world, especially because no one else has the guts to do it, and then all the way home, he's teasing everyone. It was pretty annoying. But guess what? That curse was no bullshit, and that idiot got what he deserved. Pretty much right away, he got super sick, and by the next week, he ended up in the hospital with pneumonia. But that ain't even the weirdest part. Back at our apartment, there was this nasty smell, like terrible. I'm talking about it was so bad, I thought a skunk died in the wall or something. I cleaned everything, but it just wouldn't go away. I called the landlord, and of course, as soon as he showed up, the place smelled like all the cleaning solutions I had used. So I probably just seemed like a stupid kid. But this kept happening over and over. Whenever someone would come to our place, the smell just poof, vanished. My friends, family, you name it, they all thought I was nuts because they didn't smell anything. It was like the smell was messing with me. And this was on top of the fact that my boyfriend was in the hospital during this time. Well, after a whole sucky week, he finally got out of the hospital and he smelled it too, but was still really out of sorts, so we just dealt with it and started sleeping in the living room. Eventually, after about a month, we thought we couldn't deal with it anymore, and he was feeling better, so one day he started tearing out parts of the wall looking for something, but there was nothing. It was so bad, and we were so depressed and fighting all the time and just miserable all the time. By this point, it was Halloween season, and something popped up on Twitter about how Adams has like a festival for the Bell Witch, and it hit me. He took that damn rock. So I told him we were going back immediately, but then we couldn't find the rock and spent an entire weekend desperately tearing apart our place looking for it, pulling stuff out of drawers and closets and all. It looked like a war zone. Luckily, we found it, and the next week we went back to the cave and put the rock there. And maybe you don't believe me because I wouldn't have before, but when we got back home, that smell was gone. Like completely gone. Like it never happened.
Gotta love a good you shouldn't have stolen this rock story.
So the reason I brought up, I mean, you guys have heard the Bell Witch, right? I mean, this is kind of a classic Tennessee. So the reason I brought up this story is so right back there, I have a rock from the cave.
Oh, no
and
kidding.
So when I saw this story, I was like, yo, I have to read this one, as cheesy as it is, because man, I've been there and I stole a rock. No kidding. Steal. They tell you to, okay? They offer it to you. All right. But I mean, obviously everybody talks about it and all. And sure enough, I went with a pretty blonde girl and we went to the cave. And we stole rocks together. It was like our third date. We're still together, by the way. About our third.
He was, however, cursed to become a podcaster.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she knew I was a podcaster. So she was, clearly something was wrong with her already. But yeah. Anyway, this story, this is like, that place is like one of the big urban legends here, going down in the cave and people talk about it and, grow up here and hear about, going over to the property and all. And it's a classic Tennessee story.
this is where I have to profess ignorance because the only thing I know about Bell
Yeah.
Witch is the Seattle doom metal band and their album
Ooh.
Mirror Reaper, which I quite like. I don't know the Bell Witch story.
That's like stoner
What?
metal too, right? That's like
Yeah.
like sludgy. Ooh. Yeah. Well, the Bell Witch. So the story of the Bell Witch. This is supposedly the Great American Poltergeist story. It's like one of the only spirits that's ever actually killed a human. Okay.
Mm.
And or might be right. And so essentially, the way the story goes is early 19th century, and this is out this small settlement up here in Tennessee. And a gentleman by the name of John Bell, he had a large family at that point in time. They owned a piece of property, and I guess he pissed off his neighbor, a woman by the name of Kate Batts. Okay, it was probably a dispute over land or something. And then she passes away, and she starts tormenting him as a poltergeist, essentially, right? This is
Okay.
early 19th century. They are out in the middle of the woods. This is this is basically a log cabin, one of those old school log cabins where you have, a room it's one room on each side, and then the attic space is where you live. All the beds were, right? And so the kids, everybody was tormented, classic poltergeist, walls shaking, things like that. And it just happened over and over again. The reason it's become such a classic story here, aside from the fact that the way it basically came to an end was that John Bell was poisoned, and supposedly it was the Bell Witch who poisoned him. But it's very heavily documented, which is what the big deal was. This was a small community and a very early settlement, and people in town knew about it when it was going on. It was written
Okay.
about over the years. It's kind of got these points. There's a lot of apocryphal stuff around it as well. But it was a really classic story, and you still hear about it. And again, if you grew up here, you knew that. Now, so what they do with that is there was a cave on the property that purportedly, the kids would go down to, and they used it as like refrigeration and stuff down the cave. And so you can go visit the cave today. They have like a mock-up of what the cabin would look like, and you can go down in the cave. But the thing they don't warn you that I found when I went, okay, it's very much, I mean, I will admit it's a bit of like a tourist trap type place as well. Big story. Well, here's a cave, come visit. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? And they've done ghost hunts and stuff. But what I didn't realize when I got there, okay, and what really comes with the history of the story is that, these were people who just got to Tennessee and were really fighting with natives at that point. This was the frontier. This was, I mean, hands down, this is after the Revolutionary War, before the Revolutionary War, at least, they weren't moving west of the Appalachians, right? And they were all just on the coast. And, once they kicked the king out, right, they were like, we can do whatever we want. They start going west of the Appalachians, and that's what they're doing. I mean, that's what it was, right? The king didn't want them. He was tired of fighting with the natives. So he told them you can't, go west. And, so this family essentially is there. But when you get to the property, of all the stereotypes of native burial grounds, this one is totally real. They found remains on the property that
Oh.
that was dated. I mean, sent off and everything dated. I mean, the number of like arrowheads they found on the property, it legitimately was like this native ground at the same time, which. Again, you can go back and forth. Is this that old haunting? Is the cave and all these things? Did this come from it being sacred ground, or did this fear-filled life on the frontier with fighting with natives, create this poltergeist scenario? I don't know, but anyway, you hear a lot of these stories around here, and it's a lot of the stories about pulling the rock out and what the Bell Witch is doing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's several places around the world where they've got reputations for it not taking a memento with you. I know Uluru in Australia is one where people claim to suffer bad luck if they take it, and they get them sent back. And I know certain Pacific islands and Hawaii, there are certain areas there that people have taken rocks as they found them and claimed to be cursed by spirits or bad luck and returned them. Pompeii in Italy is another one
Oh, I
where
forgot about
people
Pompeii.
just take
Mm.
anything. I'll just chip a bit off this corpse.
The Brady Bunch episode in Hawaii with that tiki.
Mm.
I do not know this one.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
I will say I had a very year old moment a little while ago. There's an Indian restaurant here called Varsha.
Uh-huh.
And I drove past it with a friend of mine who's younger than I am. And I said, Varsha, Varsha, Varsha. And nothing. Not a
Yeah.
twitch.
We're done.
And I said, no, the Brady Bunch. And then, of course, if you have to explain it. So, yeah, I'll be off to the farm running with all the other old guys.
Look, in all fairness, I watched it as reruns.
Well, I didn't see it when it first fucking came out.
Yeah, it was reruns.
I don't think it was ever shown over here.
You guys have better taste.
Yeah, I know.
You had Bagpuss. You didn't need our crap.
We had the clangers.
There you go. Yeah, clangers and Bagpuss.
We had mice that lived on the moon with a dragon. They had one episode about finding a handbag on the moon.
What?
One of the greatest shows ever made, the clangers.
Oh, man. You see, I have locked myself up in this little hillbilly culture too much. I need to get online.
Paul, do you remember when we were at Parameet that first night, we were both drinking? Do you remember that kid show we watched on your phone? No. There was some brochure we were looking at in the lobby after they closed the bar. We bought all those drinks because they were closing, so we took them out to the lobby. And we were sitting in the seating area in the lobby. And there was some kind of kid show advertised on a brochure, and you lost your shit because this kid show, and we were watching episodes of it on your phone as we were finishing our drinks, but I don't remember what it was called.
What was happening in it? If you tell me roughly what was happening in it, I might have an idea.
There might have been I was really drunk. There might have been puppets. Okay, so we'll have to we'll go through your YouTube history, which is substantial, I understand.
Yeah, I don't remember that bit, actually.
What kind of cocktails y'all have? What were y'all drinking?
I was drinking wine.
Wine?
I was drinking Guinness.
Wine and Guinness.
Real men.
That's right.
Watching cartoons.
On a phone in a hotel lobby at 1 a.m.
After being up a haunted tower.
And being slyly insulted by someone.
Ooh, buddy.
Telling you. I told you about that when we were chatting the other day, Brendan, to the woman who came out and tried to bang the handsome dude.
Maybe.
So there was this guy, what the fuck was his name? Kev Kerr. He's a skeptic. That's kind of his thing. And he's a good-looking guy. He kind of looks like English Joel McHale.
Uh-huh.
And so he was having a smoke outside at one point, and we were chatting, and everyone was well in their cups by this point. And this woman comes out, this sort of short woman, probably in her late 40s. And she's clearly had a few. And she says to me, she walks right up to him and says, "Excuse me, I wonder if you could help me win a bet." And he goes, "Oh, what's that?" And he goes, she says, "I bet those people inside that I could make a beautiful man come inside with me." And I'm just standing there holding my drink like, well, I guess I'll go fuck myself.
Oh.
You found it?
Yeah, of course I have. Now I know. You should have just said it's the greatest puppet scene ever on British television. The Sooty and Sweep show where Sweep's family, Sweep's family turn up. And there's like 21 versions of Sweep all squeaking at the same time, going me, 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 for 18 minutes. It's fucking genius.
Yeah, you were just so hammered. You were so happy. You're like, oh, Sweep. Oh, Sweep.
It's such a, it's such a monkey, Sweep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
it's so cheeky.